Hello, and welcome to the Podcast Engineering Show. I'm Chris Curran, and here we discuss podcast audio production in great depth. And by listening to this show, you will gain a ton of audio knowledge to help you avoid headaches and produce better sounding audio in less time, actually. We alternate between interview episodes and daily goody episodes like this one, where I'm going to talk about I think 6 of the daily goody blog posts that I write almost every day. And you can sign up to receive these daily goody posts in your email. You can receive them daily or as a weekly roundup. Sign up at the website, podcastengineeringschool.com. And the next semester of Podcast Engineering School starts on January 12th, 2021. And apparently our Black Friday discount is good through this coming weekend, because I guess I put the wrong date in. So if you want to save $500 off Podcast Engineering School, use the code BF5, as in Black Friday 5. So it's BF5 when you're checking out. All right, in this episode, we're going to discuss the daily goodies. But first, before that, we're going to discuss how to utilize holiday sales, how to get clients at higher rates, get new clients at higher rates if you're a podcast editor. And I'm going to quickly share the new plugins I bought for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And then we're going to get to the daily goodies. But first, Focusrite Scarlett series interfaces. You know, the Focusrite Scarlett series is now in its 3rd generation, and it's the world's best-selling USB interface range with over 3 million units sold worldwide.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I know, Barry, right? And you choose from 6 different interfaces with either 1 microphone input, 2 microphone inputs, or 4 or 8, depending on the number of hosts and guests on your show. It has very good sound quality to make you sound your best.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm telling you. And it works with the recording software you already have. Whatever software you're using, it works with that. And it works with any type of XLR microphone.
And scientific report from California was saying the same thing.
That's right. They did a report on that, right, Barry? By the way, if you're new, that's Barry. He's my sidekick. They also have a loopback app on select units, which allows you to record Skype and Zoom calls directly into your software with no workarounds.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I know. And one of the best parts is the new Air button, the Air feature. It adds brightness and presence to your voice. It adds I don't even know, maybe 10K and above. Maybe even 12K and above. It adds just that sheen of crisp clarity if you need that. So click the link in the show notes to click through and check out the Focusrite Scarlett interfaces. Thank you, Focusrite, for being a sponsor of this show. So there's been a lot of sales lately, like Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday. And I don't know, companies, they're keeping it going. It's like a whole week for Black Friday and then a whole week for Cyber Monday and then all that. So I guess that's good for us. I think everyone's just trying to sell their stuff. But one of the cool things about holiday sales is that if you're ready to invest in your equipment or your software and plugins, it might be a good time to invest. Because my overall theory is, if you buy good stuff, if you spend good money and buy really good plugins, really good hardware and all that stuff, this stuff lasts for years and years and years and years. Anyway, that's my philosophy of buying new stuff is I save up my money and I buy really good stuff. If you're looking at plugins, a high quality channel strip is a great option, right? Or you could also get an EQ and a compressor, because EQs and compressors are always great. So if you have a really great EQ and a really great compressor, man, you're good. And also hardware, right? Microphone. If you have a good microphone, you're going to sound good for the next 20 or 30 years, right? So anyway, that's just a little comment on all the sales going on. And also, my newer course, it's called Getting New Clients at Higher Rates. It's for podcast editors, so getting new clients at higher rates. It's a small course, so check that out on the website, podcastengineeringschool.com. So the new plugins I bought on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. You want to know what I bought? Oh, and I also got an Elgato Stream Deck. I finally got that. And I haven't hooked it up yet, but anyway, I because I'm doing more streaming, so I got a little Stream Deck, which it plays, clips, and you could switch scenes, and it's pretty cool. But the plugins I got, all right. Well, first of all, the AMEK EQ200 from Plugin Alliance. I've been using it actually for a few months now because I bought their yearly plan. It's a $400 EQ plugin, and it's just tremendous. And they had it on sale for $199. So come on, I had to buy it. I also bought from Plugin Alliance. I bought the BX Console N channel strip, N as in number. I also got the dearVR Pro, which is I'm going to use that on the show. It's like virtual reality, and you can put people in spaces. So if you want to make it sound like someone's in a gymnasium like 30 feet away from you, you can. I think a lot of in movie production they use that a lot because when they do the voiceovers in movies, they have to make that voice sound like it's in the space on that you see on the screen. So they use things like this dearVR Pro and other plugins to make it sound like you're in a certain space. I bought one called Phil's Cascade and also Unfiltered Audio Triad. Other ones I got, this is an important one actually, because I actually tried this one already. It's called Trackspacer, and it's made by Wavesfactory, which is different than Waves. So Waves is one company, Wavesfactory is another company, and Wavesfactory makes Trackspacer, and it's kind of like a compressor that you can use with a sidechain to basically, carve out frequencies in the music so your voice sits above music better, that kind of thing. But it's not just a compressor with a sidechain. It's deeper than that. It's much more precise than that. And I tried it once and seemed awesome. It seemed really awesome, actually. All right, Level Magic by Flux Jünger. I bought that one too. That one I'm going to talk. I already mentioned that one once, but I am going to talk about that plugin in an upcoming episode because I need to spend some time on that because it's sort of like it does a very similar thing that Auphonic does with the leveling, but this Level Magic plugin seems to do it way better. So anyway, more about that later. I also got Melodyne 5, which is like for pitch shifting and stuff. I got Quadravox from Eventide. Those are more for music. And I also got the Soundtoys Decapitator. The Decapitator. It's a saturation and distortion plugin, which I probably will not use for podcast production. But, sometimes you need to distort something, right? Just for effect. So, well, there's many ways to distort things, but the Decapitator is awesome. All right. Anyway, let's get to the daily goodies. We're going to cover daily goodies from between September 4th and September 17th of 2020. And the first one is iZotope RX8 when it was just released. And of course, just the past episode, number 205, was with Mike Rosette, the principal product manager of repair and edit software at iZotope. And he basically oversees RX. So iZotope RX8 was released. It's really cool. One of the main highlights for podcast editors and producers is a new module called Spectral Recovery, which it's really cool. So you know how a lot of people record podcasts and they have their guests on Skype or their guests on Zoom? And you know how that audio just sounds completely horrendous? Well, this Spectral Recovery module actually can help revive some of the clarity in those really dull and mangled recordings. There's other new things in RX8, so if you're new to RX8 or if you want to know what's new, just go to this post. Don't forget, all the links to each daily goodie that I'm talking about are in the show notes, like clearly labeled. So if you want to click through and look at the post I'm talking about, that's the easiest way to do it, through the show notes. So yeah, RX8, obviously I use RX every episode I produce, and I use various various modules. It's really great software. So, all right, let's move on to the next daily goodie, which is Zencaster Video Beta has launched. Yeah, so Zencastr, which does something very similar to Squadcast and others, but I think Zencastr and Squadcast are my two favorite as of now. You know, they record people's conversations over the internet, but they actually record the guest's audio locally, right? So it doesn't have to get compressed and sent over the internet and then glitched and all that. So Zencastr came out with their video beta. So now, not just audio, you can record guests on video as well as audio. And again, it records their video and audio locally. So I don't know. I got on the beta list and I tried this. Actually, I got a few of the alumni of Podcast Engineering School. One of the perks of going to Podcast Engineering School is we have a Slack group just with students and alumni. And it's a very small group. And it's great. So whenever anyone needs help, we can just ask for help in the group. And so I wanted to try Zencastr Video. And so I put in our little group, I said, hey, anybody else want to try it? So there was 2 other students. And so we tried it. And okay, so here's the deal. We tried it, but it wasn't exactly a fair trial. I mean, it wasn't unfair either. What I mean is, we connected and everything seemed to work, but then we started to try to like break it. Because that's part of what we were doing, right? We're trying to figure out how it works and if it works well and all this stuff. So we started, doing a bunch of stuff that, it's not uncommon. Like, for instance, we had one of our participants just disconnect and then wait like a minute and then come back. And actually what happened was everything got screwed up because of that. like literally that person's track, even their audio before they disconnected, it was gone. Most of it was gone. So that was rough. And so anyway, for the most part, Zencastr Video Beta, it seems pretty cool. But obviously, if it's still in beta, it's not perfect. So, but just know that. So maybe if you're going to use it, just make sure that everyone has a good, solid internet connection and, whatever else you can do. There's a lot, work with your guests to make sure they have the optimal setup and then do it. And so, yeah. But I don't know. It looks pretty cool for sure. The Zencastr Video. So it was a fun test. And again, we were trying to break it. So, but again, for testing purposes, that's what we were trying to do. When we first connected on there, we just did all the normal stuff and everything seemed to work fine. So in general, it seems to work fine, but then we tried to break it and we ended up breaking it. So, okay, next daily goodie is something that's new in Zoom, high fidelity audio mode. Well, I just mentioned Zoom and Skype, how the audio quality is terrible. Well, now Zoom has this high fidelity audio mode, and really what it is you can turn off the echo cancellation and you can turn off the automatic level, the processing that they do. And apparently when you do that, it makes it like 96 kbps mono and 192 kbps stereo, which is, higher than average, quality for that type of recording, like MP3 quality recording. So I haven't tried this, and I don't have any clients that use Zoom for interviews, and I use Zoom for webinars, and actually I use Zoom to teach Podcast Engineering School as well. But I'm not recording interviews with it, and none of my clients are, so I don't use Zoom a lot. So if you are using Zoom or your clients are using Zoom, let me know in the comments. Did you tweak the high fidelity audio mode, and are you using that, and is it better? So that's my question. And anyway, there's a link in the post, in the daily goodie post here, that'll bring you to a page that talks about the new and enhanced features. And again, this is, right now it's about 3 months old, this post. So hopefully by now a lot of people have tried it and any bugs have been worked out. Okay, next daily goodie, Sonarworks latest ebook get the most from mixing on headphones. So Sonarworks' latest ebook, Get the Most from Mixing on Headphones. And this is an actual ebook, so you can go to this post and then you can download the PDF. But Sonarworks makes software to basically flatten out the frequency response of your headphones and your monitors or whatever you want to flatten out. And it's really good. I use Sonarworks for my studio monitors and for my headphones. And so anyway, they had this ebook about get the most from mixing on headphones. I thought it was interesting. I mean, I thought it was interesting enough to write a daily goodie about it, because there are certain things, you know, if you're more aware of certain things when you're using headphones, it's better, right? Like the stereo imaging or the frequency response or ear fatigue or, you know, closed back versus open back headphones, which closed back headphones basically block out all the external sound so that all you hear is the headphone sound, right? But open back or semi-open back headphones, they don't block all the audio from outside. So like if you were listening to audio and there was someone standing next to you talking to you, if you're using closed back headphones, you're not going to hear that person very much if you're listening to audio on the headphones. But if you're wearing open back or even semi-open, you will hear the person right next to you talking, because the sound of their voice is going to come in through the headphones and go into your ears. So anyway, that's the difference between closed back and open back. I should probably do a daily goodie on that, because the higher end headphones are usually open back or semi-open, because apparently with open or semi-open, you can get better frequency response, and it helps in some way. I don't exactly know. All right, so anyway, that might help if you're really, you know, mixing and producing on headphones. That might be a cool little ebook to just check out. Okay, next daily goodie. The main thing podcast editors are using Descript for. Yeah, the main thing podcast editors are using Descript for. And you know what it is? Removing ums and ahs. That's it. So there was recently a live stream with Brian Ensminger and Steve Stewart, and they were talking about Descript, and it was great. And but I asked them kind of point blank. I was like, look, in reality, what are you really using Descript for? Like, what are you doing in Descript? Because Descript is a really cool platform. If you haven't heard about it, it's really cool. Like, it does like a million things for podcast production. Now you can edit video in there, and it's unbelievable what they're doing. And the reason we're talking about it now is because Descript can find ums and ahs and remove them automatically. So you can give it an hour-long conversation and say, remove all the ums and ahs, and 13 seconds later, it's done. Like, instead of going through it by hand, it can do that. So it's really saving a lot of podcast editors significant time. But it does have a lot of other bells and whistles. So the whole point of this daily goodie is that a lot of the other bells and whistles in Descript are not being used by podcast editors every day on every episode. And mainly the reason is because that other functionality is either unnecessary or unreliable. There were several functions within Descript that Brian and Steve had tried, but it didn't work that well. And it either has to work really well or you can't use it at all, right? Because like if it takes out half the ums, that's kind of silly. Then you still got to go through by hand and remove the others. But what if it removes something, it removes a word that's not an right? So some of this other functionality is like that. Like it doesn't work perfectly yet. So therefore these guys are not using it. I forget the examples, but there's a lot else in Descript. So anyway, yeah, that was that daily goodie. Let's move on to the next one. I think this is the last one. This is the last daily goodie for this episode. Which app do you use to tag your final episode MP3 files? Okay, so if you've been in podcasting for like 5 years or more, you know that like tagging MP3s is important, right? Because then when someone listens to your listens to your episode or they have the file on their computer, they can see, the artwork and the title and the description and link and all that stuff. But apparently now most of the podcast players, or I should say apps, most apps, they don't actually use any of the information from the ID3 tag. So now there are some people who are sort of questioning, like, well, why are we even tagging MP3s anymore if none of the players are pulling any of that information? And yeah, the answer is, well, do whatever you want. That's a global thing in podcasting, right? Do whatever you want because there's no rules. But anyway, I still tag all my MP3s because I want to, if I can tag it, I will. It's more professional. It just, for those few times that some listener somehow downloads it onto their computer and then they have the MP3 file and then they can just, click on it and see the artwork and see all the tagging information, the metadata. That's why I do it. Even if it's only for a few people, why not? It's just professional. That's why I do it. And that's why most podcast editors do it still, right? I think it's a good habit. But other people, they're like, well, you don't need to, so, which is weird. I mean, I even have naming conventions for my file names for the MP3s. Like, I don't just name the MP3 like, Joe Smith, December 8th. Like, there's a whole naming convention for me and my clients. So, because, it's good to name files uniformly. Every episode should have a very similar file name, except for obviously the episode number and the episode title. So anyway, I'm more of a stickler for all that little stuff because it's not hard to do it right? It's not hard. So you just do it right, and then you put the MP3 out into the world where it's named properly and it has the right metadata in the ID3 tag. That's it. You never have to worry ever. No one will ever have a problem because you provided everything. So that's my philosophy. But, hey, if you're one of those people who doesn't want to do any of that stuff, then that's fine too. Like, again, it doesn't really matter, right? To some people. So that's fine. So, all right. Well, those are the daily goodies we're going to cover today. And next week, Michelle Levitt from Heil Sound. Yeah, her and I had a great conversation. Michelle Levitt from Heil. And it was great. We talked about Bob Heil. She told a lot of stories. We talked about microphones, and it was really good. And that episode is going to be mixed by Podcast Engineering School graduate Jesse McCune. So this is something I actually, from time to time, allow an alumni of Podcast Engineering School to mix and edit an episode of my show. Usually I do everything for my show because that's just what I do. But some students step forward and say, hey, yeah, I'd like to mix and edit one and also obviously get feedback from me and maybe tweak it to make it better. It's just a really good learning experience for the graduate, right? To be able to do that, especially if they don't have like a million clients already, right? It's good practice and all that. So thank you, Jesse, for mixing and editing that episode. And I'll put Jesse's link in the description here. But I appreciate you listening. And if you have any questions, as always, contact me. Go to the website, podcastengineeringschool.com, and there's a contact page, and you just send me a note. If you have any questions about something I said or something about your equipment setup or anything, if you have questions, feel free to email me, and that'll be awesome. And again, Podcast Engineering School starts January 12th, 2021. Yeah, can't believe that. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care.